Hello, my name is Jeffrey Zielinski. I am co-founder of the Service Berry Group and host of our Branch Network podcast. Joining me today is a friend, Beth, one of the co-owners of Bridging Worlds Occupational Therapy and DIR Therapy, partnering with Lexi, who we had on just a few episodes ago, to talk about something that I feel like is a bit nuanced to the extent that maybe it's less commercialized as some of the other therapies, at least from my point of view, and that's DIR therapy. I'll tell you a funny anecdote. When I was talking to Lexi, I talked a lot about how I was somewhat of a skeptic of OT, a skeptic of speech therapy, and all of these things throughout our journey. I actually didn't even know that you and Lexi were using DIR therapy until probably a few weeks after you started implementing it in my son's intervention. So Beth, thanks for joining me. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, thanks for having me. So, like Jeffrey said, my name is Beth, and I am a DIR practitioner. I am also a parent coach, and I also do SSP and ILS. And the first person that I am is a mom.
Yeah.
That's my number one thing is I'm a mom too. So.
Amen. That's this whole program is for parents, families, loved ones, just to have a real genuine conversation, parent to parent, loved one to loved one. So that's great. Like I said in the opening, I didn't quite know what DIR therapy was. I probably still don't have a real fundamental understanding of what it actually is. So to kick things off, why don't you tell us what DIR therapy is, maybe what it stands for, and we can have a conversation around it.
All right. I love it. Okay. So this is
Awesome.
my jam. I absolutely love DIR. So DIR stands for Developmental Individual Relationship-Based Therapy. And really at the heart of it, DIR, it's really the framework of understanding a person's development. And it's really understanding their unique nervous system and how that works. And it's about building relationships because through relationship, growth happens.
Yep.
So like sit back and think about that really, right? Like through a relationship and connection, growth happens. That's amazing when you think about you build that relationship for a child and they feel safe, seen, and soothed all through that. And that connection really helps their growth come. And like you said, like we were able to do it with your child. And it really does make a difference when they feel safe and you're able to build that connection. And that growth really does follow afterwards.
I totally agree. One of the things that I mentioned to Lexi was that trust factor that she was able to build with our son. You mentioned relationships. I'm assuming that's all sort of part of it.
Totally is.
100%. So why did you pursue DIR therapy? I mentioned some of the other speech therapy, occupational therapy. Why DIR therapy for you?
Interesting question. Okay. Are you sure you want to know the answer
of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So for me, you have to imagine I have a son who is diagnosed with autism and he is 26 years old. So when he was diagnosed, he was only 25 months. And there really wasn't a lot of information out there back then. If I'm going to date myself now, guys. So, but there was floppy disk and dial-up. So it was really, really hard to get any kind of information on how to really connect with my child. And there wasn't doctors that were going to tell you any other services to do or what to do. You really had to dive into it and try to figure out something. And I knew my son responded to being engaged and getting down on his level and having that connection or being attuned with me. And he has a twin brother. And I watched how their connection really helped my son blossom. And I thought, how can I do this? How can I replicate this? What am I going to do? And where can I find this? Because there really wasn't anything. And I searched everywhere in New Jersey and I couldn't really find anything. So I went away to the Autism Treatment Center of America and I learned how to connect with my child there. And that's in Massachusetts.
Wow.
And I did stuff in my basement with him and it brought me to a school that did DIR therapy and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And what I loved most about it is that it embodied who I was as a person, but my whole family embodied it.
Sure.
So it joined not only my husband and I and my other 2 children, but it they brought my extended family in. So my parents, my sister, my brother, their cousins. I'm Italian, and we do a lot of big family events.
Sure.
And it was really, really hard for my child to participate or for us to participate. I mean, I remember walking in and looking for where's the door
Yeah.
and what's the fastest
100%.
exit? Where am I going
Yeah.
to get out of here? So it was what I love too is that it embodies everybody as a family, and it really helps everybody learn how to connect, and it's that relationship piece, and that for me is huge. It's developing that relationship and that connection so that the child does feel
Yeah.
so safe and connected.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and I could tell you from my own personal anecdote, that was always something I found to be somewhat of a gap, to the extent that we're the same way. We have a big family, lots of people in and out of the house. You just met my my mother-in-law, putting my daughter to bed. Like that's just how we live our lives.
Right.
And upon a diagnosis and when things were really challenging in the beginning, we had a lot of the same instances, like okay, I plan to be here for an hour. Can we show face? How many people? Is there a pet? How are we going to figure all
Yeah.
this out? And taking some of the techniques that you had implemented and kind of extending that into our family was huge. So I think a perfect segue as you're thinking about DIR and some of the techniques. I want to break this up into two parts, but I'll ask them separately.
Okay.
What makes what you do different than like an occupational therapist?
Question.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I often say that occupational therapy and DIR we're such a great pair. We're almost like a married couple,
sure.
because we just merge like that. So occupational therapy really part of their main goal is to really focus on those daily tasks of living and functioning in that kind of way, where DIR focuses on that internal piece
Mm,
and really bridging that piece together. So like occupational therapy is that ADLs where we're doing those daily tasks of living and managing that, where DIR is that social emotional piece, and how do we bridge that into the real world where we're out and about, and how do we make our child
yeah,
feel safe in that without feeling that kind of anxiety.
yeah. I want to ask you that you started answering the question about how it complements like occupational therapy. How do you think about that in relation to like ABA? I mean, we have an at-home team, and they have been instrumental in my son's development, learning skills, using those skills in public. Same thing for Lexi. Same thing for you when we first met. How do you think about it complementing sort of the full spectrum of a child's therapeutic intervention?
Yeah, I love that question. So I think that's really great. What's really interesting is I I have one of my very best friends whose son who also has autism. They're very just ABA based, and we
Hmm.
were very DIR based. And what we noticed as they were maturing together, that they were able to connect, and
Yeah.
it really made something spark in my brain to say that it's a really great way to bridge the different worlds together, because not one thing works for every child. So it's a bridge of everything, right? And it's complementing each other.
Bridging worlds.
Bridging worlds. Yeah. So it really is. It
It's coming
does.
together.
It does. And it does really complement each other, because not one technique works for at all. I don't believe that one sole thing works for every
Yeah,
child. And I think you have to really think about their unique differences, and whether it's ABA, DIR, speech, OT, PT, putting everything all together, we all complement each other.
yeah,
And when you're able to find a team that is okay with doing that and really wants to go in and make that difference in that kind of way, you'll notice, like, with ABA, they do I've actually gone in to do some work with ABA teams to
mhm,
really show them how to play and how to connect with children on that kind of level, because what really happens, and I think this is, like, a really great topic to bring up that goes along with ABA and DIR, what happens is a lot of times they think it's you're just playing, right? So it's really going in to show, and I've done this before in the past, it's going and showing many different therapists that it's play is set up in such an intentional way. So you could still follow a child's lead and it could still be very organic,
Hmm.
but it's really knowing how to tailor the play to that child's individual need. So you can build the play off of what they're doing and really dive into their world and bridge it out. And lots of times, too, questions I get, I'm probably asking all your questions, but
No,
I get so
it's all part
excited.
of the
Don't wait, I
conversation.
get so excited about this because this is when I tell you this is my jam. This is like so
Amen. I
this
love
is
it.
my
I love it.
passion beyond passion. But I really feel like sometimes it's very difficult for people to get. Oh well, I'm following their lead. You're following their lead, but there's so much more to following their
Yeah,
lead. Like I said, there's that
totally
intentional
agree.
piece, and there's also play. Like you play with intention. So there's all different types of play, right? There's imaginary play. There's just a different types. You can actually structure the play. So even if a child, if you are following their lead, say they love Paw Patrol and this is what they want to play with and
Yep.
it's out all over the floor and that's what you're going to play with. You can set it up intentionally. You know what those children or that specific child needs to work on and what those goals are. And you can set the play up and gear it towards that by following their lead, joining them in
Yeah.
exactly what they want, honoring what they like to do instead of stopping what they like to do.
It makes me think a lot about when we first started working together. If you remember, one thing that was so challenging for us was transitions. And I know that's pretty difficult for a lot of kids. It was especially difficult. Comings and goings were
Mhm.
were borderline impossible. And Lexi and I joked around about it a little bit. I remember so clearly, throwing them over your shoulders, coming out in cars, and at first I'm like, gosh, like this seems kind of fun. I want to be dragged across the floor. But you use the word intention, and I can't emphasize that word enough because what I learned pretty quickly was that you were employing things that motivated him, but also building that relationship with him to the extent that like there was trust there was rapport there. Exiting was hard. Well, let's turn exiting, today's session into a car ride that he
Yeah,
was really motivated by. He still loves roller coasters and stuff like that, and we kind of use that as a means, like, all right, we're gonna go, on Tower of Terra or whatever it
it's
is
amazing.
that he
Yep.
wants to do. We still use a lot of those techniques, and to use your word, it's with intention.
Right.
The goals are transitions, but the mechanics of how you get there and using that play, using his motivations, it's just made an enormous difference for us. I want to go back to something that I had bumped into a few times when I was doing my own research on DIR, and that was floor time.
Uh
Uh, I don't even know what it is. So could you tell us a little bit about
huh.
floor time? Is
Okay.
that just an interchangeable
No,
description of DIR?
well, they go hand in hand.
Okay.
They're again like kind of a married couple.
Hmm.
But so floor time is so DIR is really just understanding the principles of it, like
Yep.
what it is. And like I explained to you, it's developmental individual relationship based therapy. And the difference is floor time is we're actually on the floor with the child, engaging them in what they like. It could be on a play set.
Hmm.
It could be at the Turtleback Sale, and
Sure.
we're on the train. That's floor time. It's joining into their world, diving headfirst in, and acknowledging who they are,
Yeah.
and showing respect actually
Yeah.
for the child or the adult. Because um, the real thing with floor time is that you can do it throughout your life.
Mm.
So I know that sounds like everyone's like, well, it's just play, but it's really not just play.
So that's my next question, which is you either prepared or you read my mind, which is there a specific individual or characteristic of person that you're looking for? You mentioned autism.
Mhm.
Is there a specific characteristic that you're looking for DIR to be worthwhile or to pursue the benefits that come with it? Or is it enormously vast, like an occupational therapy?
Yeah, it actually is enormously vast.
Mm,
It's not singled down to any one thing at all. It's That's the beauty of it.
sure.
That's such the beauty of it
Yeah.
because it's not actually they just are using it now with Alzheimer's and dementia
Oh, no
patients too.
kidding.
So it is across the board and it is really an amazing technique. And like I said, I'm in love with it. I'm passionate about it. I have seen the
Yeah.
results, and when you do see it, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I had read again anecdotally that you're seeing I want to use the word commercial, but I'm going to
Yeah.
more commercialization of DIR, but I didn't realize dementia and how far reaching it is.
Yeah, it goes it's so vast, and like I said to you, like, people a lot of people think it's, for younger people,
Hmm.
and it's not. You and I, we play, like,
Yeah.
right? So, like, for instance, like, I might go to trivia night, that's your form of playing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point.
So and that's a way for us to connect,
Yeah.
and through connection, growth happens. So that's why you
Mm,
never stop playing, it's just a different way that you play.
I like that a lot. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Take that, clip that one. That's amazing. Kind of going into, okay, so now you found a candidate, or at least we're parents, right?
Right.
And so you think maybe your child is going to benefit from DIR.
Mhm.
I know we talked with Lexi about sort of the evaluation process with occupational therapy. Do you, in your practice, or even just sort of universally, do you recommend an evaluation? What does that process look like? Tell us a little bit about
All right,
that.
great. That's a great question. So I do, so will definitely do an evaluation, and that's really doing a functional, emotional, developmental capacity. So it's the FEDCs, and I will go in and I'll first interview the parent and really talk to you guys and see what you're looking
Hmm.
for, what your goals are, and where you're seeing where you wanna be, you know? And then after that, I'll sit down with, and I have a little bag of stuff that I bring, kind of like,
Bag of tricks.
yeah, and I take it out and I really see how they relate to the objects that I bring.
Hmm.
So depending on the age, depending on, if there's a diagnosis or not, because I see children
Sure.
that have no
Yep.
diagnosis whatsoever. Again, some are just social emotional, some are just
Yep.
really learning how to connect and play, and really how to join and have friendships, because that's really hard
Yeah.
now. But yeah, so I'll go in, and depending on the age, what if there's a diagnosis or not a diagnosis, I have my bag of tricks, which are is different. I'm going to say people are going to say they're toys. They're not necessarily they're my toys, but
They're
they're,
tools. They're
they're definitely
tools.
tools. But and that will really give me a glimpse into the way they connect to the world around them.
Sure.
The way they play really tells me where they're at developmentally too, and that really turns the light switch on for me, and it'll really show me what my next steps would be, and how
Yeah.
often they would need it, and how long they would need it, and how I would want to present that to the parent too, and also like how I'd want to bring you into the session and just be like, this is the way to connect. These are the things that I'm noticing, and I would typically do the evaluation, then I would obviously meet with you, and then after that, we would start sessions. And what's really great about DIR is I love bringing the parents in. I love connecting with you guys. I think
Yeah.
empowering, I
That's so
think
true.
it's true. And I just think empowering parents, when parents feel empowered, their connection with their child is greater. When they feel,
Totally agree with
right?
that. Totally agree with that. I mean, look, let's just be honest. The journey's bumpy.
It's very bumpy.
It's stressful. It's enormously stressful at times. But when you make progress, maybe perfect segue for the next question. The quality of the time that you're spending, I feel like, is so enhanced.
Hmm.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I almost feel like it's like an understated
Yeah,
piece of this, to be honest with
I
you.
agree.
Yeah. So to that to that note, progress. Obviously, it's maybe not obviously, but I think obviously it's probably going to look different for everybody.
Yes.
Um, when you're working with a particular child
Hmm.
or adult, maybe, what does progress look like for you? Maybe both just generally
Uh-huh.
speaking, but also at the individual
Okay.
level.
So generally speaking, progress for me, again, it is
Sure.
individualized, right?
Yep.
But so it's really looking at that specific kiddo or young adult or adult, and really seeing from the time we started to the notes that I have taken, and if that connection piece has grown and if they're feeling comfortable in their own body. So when I look at a kiddo and you almost see it as time goes on, you start to see them getting more and more comfortable with who they are
Yeah.
and feeling confident about themselves. And
Yeah.
when that self-esteem starts to go, that's how I know that the progress is really starting to happen, and the growth is really starting to come. It's also sometimes progress just looks like they're having more fun in general. They're
Good point.
enjoying
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
because some of our kiddos, right, just anxiety alone for them makes it really difficult to even be able to enjoy being in a setting where there are other children around. So when you see them starting to feel more comfortable within their body and then within the family setting, that kind of lets me know that we're making progress.
I love that. I didn't even think about that, but you put a question in my head. Talked to Lexi about it a little bit with respect to occupational therapy, but I love what you said. I'm not, thinking about sort of the ancillary benefits that come with DIR. Obviously, you have goals and things that you're working on. You have certain techniques to work on that. I could tell you, I remember very clearly with speech, once my son was able to speak more clearly and articulate his wants and his needs, we were obviously able to deliver those more accurately based on what he wanted, and he would become more confident. He'd become more happy, and just again, the quality of the interactions changed pretty quickly. And when that quality of interaction changes, then you can spend more time with play and rough housing and all this kind of stuff instead of always feeling like you're constantly correcting a behavior or something like that. 'Cause that's exhausting for the child. DIR, thinking about it from an ancillary benefit point of view, how do you see your work impacting other skills? You mentioned confidence and stuff like that beyond the thing that you're working on specifically.
For me with DIR, when I look at if I go into a school setting and I'm called in to go in and help out with that and see what's going on and if my services could be needed, I think a lot of it comes from really giving the staff the tools to
Mm,
look at the individual and understand their different uniqueness and what's going on for them. So when adults are able to, or the staff, even if if I'm working with an adult child and I'm talking to the staff there too, it's really just helping them understand what that specific person's unique differences is, what their developmental
mhm.
framework is. Because once they can understand their developmental framework, then you can do DIR in the classroom too. And
Yeah.
it might even be,
Mhm.
and like DR in the classroom could be um, just creating something where they're able to feel again that confidence. And once a teacher understands like when we're doing it, it's not really focusing on a specific skill. What I'm really focusing on is helping them build the foundations
Yeah.
for those skills in a natural way.
That's a good way to put it. So collaboration is important, you would say.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. You have been so collaborative with us over the years. We've had a wonderful at-home ABA team that's been enormously collaborative. But I don't know if it's surprising to some. It was certainly surprising to Patty and I that not everyone is as engaging as maybe you would like them
That's
to be. And I feel like the only one that pays the price for that is the child or the
Mhm.
person that needs the extra structure around themselves. And I'm glad you're saying that because the more people I talk to, the more they seem to indicate that collaboration is important. And I feel like I'm seeing it as we find the right people, the right teams. Um, I won't go off on a tangent, but I wish it was a little bit more universal, is I guess how I would put it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. I I don't mean to bounce around here, but
Go ahead.
I I wanted to ask you a question just on maybe like the misconceptions of DIR. Again, former everything skeptic, didn't
Yeah,
even know that DIR was
exist.
existed, much less being used,
Used.
and I was paying for it. But that's sincere.
Yeah.
I really didn't actually know that. What are some of the misconceptions that you find in your field? Specifically to DIR, but maybe about anything on the learning?
Okay, so that's a great question. I feel a lot of people, like I said, they feel that it's just play.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just play.
Hmm.
And again, like I said, it really is intentional. So I think that's it. The therapist sets up something very intentionally. Everything is done with um, a thought behind it. When I go into a session, I have a goal in mind. I know what I'm working on,
Yeah.
and I know that that's what we're going to be doing. And you know what? Some days that's great, and we really get it. And some days the child just really needs something else, and that's okay too. But it's knowing that it's not just play, it's set up
Yeah.
intentionally, and it's done in that kind of way with intent, and I
Yeah.
think that's the misconception. I think a lot of people really feel well, it's just play. Oh, it's just oh, I have a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm joining too." Okay, so, like, you joined, like, now what? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's really building off of that. It's not just joining what they're doing. So they're running around and, they're playing Paw Patrol and, this one's barking and you're barking too, and that's great. So now what? What's your purpose behind it? So that's not DIR. That's not floor time. You're joining them, but with an intent. So how do we build off of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I know that we're working on sharing. So we're barking like dogs. So I'm going to set up something. I'm going to join them
Yeah.
in that barking, but I'm going to set up a scenario where we're learning how to share with our friends because that's something that we're really struggling with.
So keep taking the words right out of my mouth, which is amazing. Which I guess means we're on the
We're totally on the
same
same page.
wavelength here. Which is the social part of it. Yeah, a big part of why Patty and I even pursue doing this, other than the obvious of helping other families, making that sort of that space of inclusion. Because going through this journey is very isolating. You feel like you don't know your left hand from your right. And what we have found over the course of a couple years now is that so much time is obviously spent on the individual, as it should be,
Mhm.
because each individual is going to have their own needs, their own specifications, and you have to work towards his or her goals. The social aspect is always really
Mhm.
interesting to me. One, we're social creatures, and I think it's important that we spend maybe as much time on the social side of things as we do the
I
individual.
agree.
Um, DIR screams socialization to me, but again, in practice, I'd love to hear from you how you think about interacting with other children, peers. You mentioned families and stuff like that
Yeah,
before. If you talk a little bit about the social piece of this,
sure.
it means a lot to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm really working on really helping an individual have bridge that gap with the socialization, again, I would what whatever motivates them, I'm gonna use that motivation.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna for whatever reason, Paw Patrol's on my mind.
Hey,
That's the last thing I was playing with today, so that's in my brain.
I don't hate Paw Patrol.
So just say, for instance, it's we're playing Paw Patrol, and I know that there's a big event coming up.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a birthday party.
Sure.
And that's something that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna set up the play intentionally with the Paw Patrol characters
I
and
like that.
myself and come up with different scenarios. And I'm not gonna do it just the week before. I'm gonna be doing it for
Yeah.
many weeks before because I really wanna help that individual feel really safe and comfortable in their body. Because when they do and they understand the different scenarios that can happen and that not everybody is gonna wanna do what you wanna do, right?
Yeah.
And it it is scary walking into a room, and how does that feel? And then really touching on those emotions and then doing it through the characters that
Yeah.
because when you build it through the characters, you're building it through something that they love.
Hmm.
So when they can relate to it,
Yeah.
you can bring it out into the world for them.
I love that. And it goes back to the point of collaboration. In this case, I think with the family, you're only going to know to prepare for a birthday party if we tell you there's a birthday party coming up.
Correct.
You're only going to know that maybe they're scared of the car wash if we tell you that they're scared of the car
Mhm,
wash. And so, as intentional as you can only be, almost as intentional as we enable you to be,
mhm,
right? I think as parents, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we're over communicative because we don't want to be put in a situation where you're spending time doing something that maybe doesn't motivate the child.
right.
um maybe they're turned off by a particular thing. And I think that that's so important because I could say it working with you for a couple years now, working with Lexi for a couple years now, you took that feedback really, really seriously. And I
Yeah,
mentioned the transitions before. And so your intent to figure out how do we create a transition in a way that's going to motivate him through play, through things that he enjoyed. And I'll say it again, it made such a world of
I
difference.
love that.
Yeah. And we still do it. We still I mean, our son has made an enormous progress, and I'm so proud of him. Every day, he amazes us more and more.
He works so hard. It's
He
hard. It's hard
exactly
work.
what I
It's
was
hard
just
work
gonna
being a
say.
kid. It really
It's a
is.
lot of hard work,
It really,
but
really is.
when you kind of find those things, and those things change.
Yeah.
That's another thing I want to be clear about is it's not like you're taking one technique and we're running with this in
No.
perpetuity.
Does change.
Yeah,
No, it totally does. I wanna go back to the socialization part too,
sure.
because it's not just like with birthday parties. So say like I know like I interviewed you, we're setting up DIR and I'm gonna do in-home services and you say, listen, like he or she really is struggling with socialization. I'm gonna set up play in all different ways. Going to the playground,
Yeah,
doing different scenarios that children would be doing to really help facilitate them feeling more comfortable in their bodies
yeah.
for that play and that interaction.
Would you say, something we've talked about with our at-home ABA team is like going to the grocery store or like going to a
Mhm.
mall or something. Would you see that being part of it as well? Or you
Absolutely.
would? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, how much socialization happens at ShopRite, but I guess it kind of does.
It's well, what it does well, what it really does create is them feeling comfortable because what I will tell you about ShopRite or any of the food stores, sometimes for kiddos to begin that socialization, it's almost more comfortable to socialize with an adult. So to
Oh,
go to
yeah,
ShopRite
I agree.
and introduce themselves and start it that way,
Yeah.
that is giving them the confidence then to go up and start that socialization because adults are genuinely more flexible
Yep.
with people coming up and chatting with them than other children might be
Yep.
sometimes. So I feel like going to a shop right or going to the butcher shop or whatever and just having them talk to the
It's a great point.
butcher or talk to wherever your
Yeah.
local places that you
Yeah.
usually go just to build that rapport with adults and even strange adults like at ShopRite with you there, obviously that they wouldn't be a stranger. But like, like you're at the deli counter
Yeah.
and you can say, oh, you can tell them we're going to order some cheese and really just encouraging that back and forth. I always call it it's open and closing circles
Mm,
and it's their circles of communication. So when you start those
love
circles of
that.
communication and you build them out, that can trickle into then socialization, then going to the park. And maybe at the park, the first person they're going to talk to is the parent standing there pushing the swing.
Yep.
But that's going to
It's an
gradually move on.
interaction.
Yes.
It's funny. You're right on the money because I could tell you, even as our son was growing up, he's still young, but we always observed that he gravitated towards either older kids or adults.
Right.
And as we started to kind of get a better understanding of what was going on with our son, we kind of figured that, to your point, they probably just understood what he was trying to get after more than another 3 or 4 year old
Uh,
kid who's just on to the next, butterfly and
yeah.
just chasing his or her own shadow. But you're so right. That does create an interaction, and it probably gives them a sense of comfortability as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. See, you just taught me something. Um, with respect to DIR as a practice,
Mhm.
what do you see the future of it? Because for me, and again, just doing my own research, obviously having worked with you for several years now, it feels like the validity of it is becoming more well received. First of all, do you agree with that? Second of all, what do you see as the future of DIR as it relates to a sort of overarching plan for therapeutic intervention for those who need it?
Um, well, my goal is my goal is really for when children go to the doctor, that DIR is one of the things that's brought up too when therapies
Hmm.
are brought up. I would really love for that to happen. I do think that it's getting more and more recognized. It's now starting to be covered by insurance,
Oh, no kidding.
which is a really
That's
big
great.
deal.
Yeah.
So that I think really is going to start something. And I think that the more we're out there and the more we're talking about it, doing podcasts like this so that people understand really what it is. Because, like I said, I don't think people do understand what it
Right.
is. And I don't think when you're going and like it's not just for children that have a diagnosis, but when you are going and you do have that diagnosis, it's not something that the developmental pediatrician or the neurologist says to you. They don't even
No,
mention DIR.
never mentioned it to us.
Yeah, so it's really sad because it really is so helpful and it really does make a huge difference. So I'm really hoping that by starting to be covered by insurance, that hopefully that will start to encourage more people to be aware of it even and then
Yeah.
getting the word out and really just letting people know about it.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I didn't realize that insurance, probably not all insurances, but some of them are starting to cover it.
A small percentages, but to me
But
that's
hey,
huge because for years and years and years it wasn't being covered at all.
it's encouraging. One of the many things that Patty and I are working on now and towards the future is we just something about like cost prohibitions being, a wall to access bothers us a
Yeah.
lot. And however we could try to make a difference, we'll try to do that. But if insurance is at least a small
Small
percentage of
percentage.
them are stepping up, that's encouraging. Um, but we'll keep an eye on that because that'd be something great to advocate for, I
Right?
think.
I
Yeah,
really think so. I mean,
yeah,
I think it would make a big difference. And I think letting people know that what it's about. So doing things like this
100%.
because like you said, you really didn't know a whole lot about
No,
it.
and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. We'll do more of these, because I
Yeah.
think it's important, and we could probably break different topics down. I have just a few more questions for you,
Sure.
and you can let me know if I missed anything.
Okay.
One, going back to the parent's point of view,
Mhm.
I mentioned it before. There was many stages during this journey that felt very confusing, very isolating. I think I've mentioned it in probably every interview that I've done. And even when you get a lot of the answers, sometimes those answers are actually overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
you get an occupational therapy evaluation, you go in because you think, maybe there's a delay with a certain motor skill, and then you get this 10-page document detailing all of these other, potential deficiencies. It's very overwhelming.
Yes.
What would you say to parents that are maybe just entering this phase of the journey and they might be dabbling in DIR and feeling overwhelmed? You know, how would you talk to them? What would you say to those parents? Because I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been there on the journey in
Yes.
different elements.
Absolutely.
What would you say to them?
I would say I think the biggest thing is give yourself grace.
Mm,
Really give yourself grace. You're
I
not
love
gonna
that.
learn it all in one day. You're not gonna learn it all in one week. And take it each day, and celebrate every win
I
because everything is a win.
I love that.
Yeah. I
I
mean, and to me,
absolutely
I
love
just
that.
really feel that way. I just feel like celebrating your child for who they are
Yep.
and understanding their uniqueness is just amazing. And that in itself is a win.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So now you're working with a parent, you're working with a family. Um, Obviously, I just mentioned it a couple times. We bring a lot of the techniques that you've introduced to our life. Uh, and it could be the simplest things, a squish ball, a blanket.
Right.
Lexi was even saying, you don't need all the equipment to
You don't.
bring OT home. How do we bring DIR
You don't need and
home?
listen, I can do a DIR session with a scarf and you wouldn't even know it. I can keep your child for doing something with just one scarf and just engaging. It's really I really feel it's really honing in on again their uniqueness, honoring who they are as an individual
Amen.
and just really building off of that. It's that connection piece. It all comes back to relationship and connection. And like I said, I can do a session with a scarf. I don't need anything
Maybe we'll do
else.
a podcast episode
We can
on
totally do that.
DIR with a scarf. I would love to.
I would do it. I would DIR you.
Okay, fine. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, beautifully said. Again, you are a co-founder of Bridging Worlds
Yes,
with
I am.
Lexi. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization, your company, what you're doing, and we'll be sure to plug your website, where to find you all and your resources.
Okay, awesome. So we are DIR, OT, and we also do parent coaching, like I said, SSP and ILS, but we are Bridging Worlds, Occupational DIR Therapy, and we go in home. So,
Mm,
Lexi and I, we worked together for many years, and one of the things that we really noticed that was a common concern with parents was, wow, you had a really great session with them. I'm really happy that you did. However, I'm not having that. And I don't really know how to carry that over. You're giving me tools to use, but it's not the same as being in my home. And how do we do that? And how do I have success? And I had a lot of parents who were feeling unsuccessful sometimes after they left, even though we had the best session. It could have been the most
Sure.
amazing session, but they were feeling extremely
We've been
unsuccessful.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Lexi and I got together and we thought, it would be really great to be able to do it inside the home, be able to do the therapy inside the home using what you have in your home. Obviously, we have stuff that we would bring in too, but really just being able to show you how to do things within your own home with the tools and the stuff that you have here. We don't need anything. Like I said, we could do something with a scarf. You don't really need a lot of anything, but our main goal was really to empower families to be able to connect with their children, have successful sessions and have successful experiences with their child instead of leaving a session and saying, wow, you did great, I'm going home, and I'm not having that. And that's not really what you want. We really wanted to bring it into the home environment. And I feel like that's what we're doing now. And I'm super excited about it. It is my dream. It's something that I really am so happy to be able to do this. So,
Yeah. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that working with you guys has really been an absolute game changer. And it was almost just an accident, right?
yeah.
Because you weren't you were working not in the home, I should say, and that's how we met. And just getting to build a relationship with you, text each other, ask ideas. Is this working? Am I doing something
Right.
wrong? Venting. It really it means a lot to us. I know you're going to help so many more families because I've seen it firsthand. You're both amazing, and
Thank you.
cannot say enough good things about the two of you. So
Thank you.
before we wrap it up, we actually did pretty good on time. Actually, really good on time.
Really? Well, do you have any other questions
It-
for me? I'm like, do you have anything else?
I don't nothing prepared today, but I was going to ask, do you think I missed anything? Is there something that
Um,
that's on your mind or your heart that you think you want to share?
well, I'm really glad that we're sharing what DIR is and what floor
Sure.
time is and really showing the difference between that. And I hope I was able to like really convey
For
that
sure.
here. Also, I think it's what I really love is listening to you talk and how you're relating to the parents, and that's something that Lexi and I really want to make sure that we are able to connect with the parents and
Mhm.
really let them feel confident in their skills. So that's really great to hear that that's something that we were able to do with you, and that's one of the things that we want to bring in. That's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
Is not that other therapists don't do that, being
It
at
was never
facility,
transactional with you guys.
right?
Never.
And it's just and that's really how we want it to be, and we really like I said, it's about empowering families to
Yeah.
feel like they can do it too.
Awesome. Well, this was our baseline
Amazing.
to talk about DIR, sort of
Great.
demystify it, if you will. I hope you'll come back and we can maybe think about other things to break down
I would
in greater
love to come back.
specificity and some granular detail. But Beth, thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having
Of
me.
course. And for everybody that listens, be sure to like, comment, subscribe,
Please.
share. We really hope to help as many families, loved ones as possible. Be on the lookout for more from the Serviceberry Group and the Branch Network podcast. Beth, thanks again.
Thanks for having
And
me.
of course, we'll be on again real soon. Take care, everybody.